Hello, dear listeners. As I prepare for an all-new season with an all-new topic, I wanted to provide you with an amuse-bouche. This is a conversation I recorded with fellow Geekscapists as a post-San Diego Con-versation. Get it? From press passes to running activation booths to attending as a panelist, we cover it all. I hope you enjoy the conversation and it gets your brain churning on other questions you have about conventions. Just a reminder, it can be about big ones like this, small themed ones like Star Trek, or even conventions for things like board games or other hobbies. I really want to hear your ideas as I start this next season. Now, on to this conversation about 2025 San Diego Comic-Con. So we're going to be covering off on San Diego Comic-Con 2025, the good, the bad, the ugly, how it's looked different from years past. So let's go ahead and start with introductions. I'm just going to go from left to right for me. So Jonathan, if you want to go first.
Hi, I'm Jonathan, Geekscape founder, and my San Diego Comic-Con is usually as an exhibitor at the booth, the Geekscape booth.
Where you harass strangers until they realize that they're not strangers.
Well, last year, no, 2 years ago for sure, I made the mistake of bringing down a microphone and a speaker to try and get us some attention because we've been exhibitors since 2010, and very quickly, just to tell you guys that Comic-Con has changed in that time as an exhibitor, in that our small independent Geekscape network booth and initiative is just surrounded by booths that just got bigger and bigger and bigger until you couldn't see us from the aisle. So I thought it was a good idea to bring a microphone and a speaker. It's not a good idea according to some of our bigger corporate neighbors. And even though I'm not as loud as some of the trailers and things that are in our vicinity, it's too loud for them. So we moved to indie publishing, and it's been great for the last 2 years. So yeah, harassment's a part of it,
Yeah.
sadly.
And next, I'll have Christian introduce yourself.
Oh, hello. I'm Christian Blatt. I was down there as part of a panel that I was very excited for because I'd never done a panel there before. I was there to help out with Geekscape, but they didn't need my help. So I mostly just went around and bought stuff for my kids and waited in a lot of lines and had an all around great time.
Definitely had a line con or whatever. I heard people refer to that like queuing con.
Oh, and then I was also at the end of my time there. I was there to take the receipt from Old Spaghetti Factory so that I could get like 13,000 points. So thanks, everybody.
Family dinner coming in clutch. I love it. Tessa, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Hi, I'm Tessa Markle, formerly of FemRegard podcast. I used to go to Comic-Con for a few years before the pandemic with a professional pass, but just as an attendee. And then the past 2 years, I've been going as an exhibitor working for the Nickelodeon booth. So I was just there to visit the Geekscapists, but had a great time. It's absolutely exhausting, but it's still a good time.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to talk about activations for sure. But first, I'm going to have Katie introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Katie Hampton, Napping Through Happy Hour, Christian Cringe, Internet Supreme Court, Marvel Movie Talk, a lot of different things on the Geekscape network. But I went down under a press pass where we got to do some interviews and do some experiences and report for the Geekscape network, all the fun stuff that's going on that weekend.
Yeah, I think you got the most mileage out of any of us. I think you had the longest distance runs.
I literally, I think it was Thursday or like the first proper day of Comic-Con, and I had already walked like 17,000 steps. And I was like, my feet were swollen.
No, I mean, that's kind of the joy of Comic-Con San Diego is that the convention center itself is like a mile long, and then you also have a couple of hotels on either end, and don't forget the library in a different location. There's tons of walking, but I'm curious to hear from those of you who went. Let's draw a line at pre versus post pandemic. How did it look differently? Because my first attendance was in 2022. I went 22, 23,
missed 24, came back 25. And 22 is the first year back post-COVID, but I have no idea what it looked like before COVID. So I would love to hear kind of what was the atmosphere like? What was the vibe at Comic-Con?
I mean, I would definitely say less people. Like it was still packed, don't get me wrong. I mean, you're still waiting in line for hours to do anything, but I just didn't feel like it felt so like you couldn't even move through the aisles, like because for me, like when I'm working it, I get half-hour breaks, and that's, to go visit my friends, to go do some shopping, whatever. So I can't get that far anyway, I know that. But even just to get like a few rows down the line, like I'm trying to squeeze through people. I started just going completely outside and down to get anywhere because it was easier. So to me, that was kind of the biggest difference.
I think the biggest difference now, the last time I went before last year was 2011, and you need to plan what you're going to go to. There's no walking around like, oh, hey, what's this line for? Or, oh, what's this? If you don't know what it is and you didn't already get a spot or get a ticket or anything like that, it's like, yeah, you got to move along. You can't happen onto anything. So you have to really do your research. And definitely what Tessa said, there's so many more people. Like you'd think that what it used to be was capacity. And they're like, nah, we could triple that.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, it's so funny too because like I remember the first time I went was in 2013 and I got to experience the floor, I got to walk around to some of the activations and things like that. And I've even worked a couple of activations in the time since. And there is a general like kind of difference between pre-pandemic and post-pandemic of just how many people are in the convention versus outside of the convention. And I will say that I think San Diego itself has gotten a lot busier as well as inside the convention. But I don't know if many people know what actually happens inside the convention versus outside the convention when it's like their first time. And that was kind of, it's always fun to see somebody through their first time. I got to see my husband through his first time, my co-host Marie through her first time, their partner Nico. It's cool to see people realize what actually Comic-Con is. And I do think that post-pandemic, it's a little bit different for that introduction.
What would you say that what would be different for you, Katie? Because I remember the pandemic being like this tonal shift. Like there's always been a ton of people, and if anything, this year there was actually a decrease in the amount of stuff in the water. Like behind the pandemic, there wasn't like there's always a pirate ship out there for one of the parties. There's always some stuff.
Big bad voodoo daddies, yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
There was kind of almost a decrease in what I saw just from walking back and forth to the hotel. But that one year, and I think it was 2021, it might have been 2022, like you said, Sadie, but there was like a behavior shift that summer. That first summer back, there were people being like really aggressive with each other, like they had not been in public since the pandemic. And for the most part, they definitely hadn't been to a giant convention like that because there's nothing like it on the continent. And at least not in a comic book convention. I'm sure anime cons and Brazil has like the biggest one in the Americas. But just coming back that first post-pandemic con, people were a little grabby, they're a little pushy, a little impatient, and they just hadn't been around people for like a year. And before that, like you guys said, you could improvise a schedule. You could say, "Hey, let me check this out. Let's just see what the con it can come to you." I think I can only let the con come to me when I'm hiding behind a 10 by 10 booth at this point. Like Galactus walked by. That was cool.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you point out that like Christian, especially that you can't just like happen upon things anymore. And as a post-COVID con goer, I like by the time I looked at activations or activities or things like that, I was like, oh, all the tickets were sold out months ago before I maybe even had a flight to San Diego. And I'm curious if that's because that's so weird because to me that feels like that's the fun, unusual part of Comic-Con that I haven't seen at other conventions where there's a lot of like engagement. But if you can't stumble across it, I don't know, that doesn't seem as much fun to me, maybe.
Yeah, oh, go ahead, Katie, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Christian, go ahead.
Well, there's a level, it sort of ties into what I said earlier. There's a level of like, oh, you didn't know what was going on at this booth. You didn't know. You had to be here as soon as they opened. You had to get a number, and we were out of numbers in 3 minutes. Like there was this Tron booth, and
That's the one I was going to name, the
yeah,
Aries booth.
somebody really wanted me to get the Nine Inch Nails record, and I found out the first day, like, oh, it's really hard to get. So I went my second day. Uh, before the con actually opened, I snuck in a door that somebody walked out, and I ran right to that booth, and I got one, but only because I was in line before it actually opened. And even when I came back, it was like, yeah, we'll see what we have left. But people who kept coming up to the line, and look, I get it. If you work in that line, you get asked the same things. But it's like, no, we gave them away in the morning. Go away. It's a lot of that.
And you can't sell to exhibitors. Like exhibitors can't do that. Like Mattel, I know I've heard of an exhibitor that has their booth near Mattel, and they don't really do anything in their booth. They don't sell anything. They don't have anything. The booth is there so that they can have their people get the Mattel exclusives when it opens, be the first ones in line to get the Mattel exclusives and immediately put them on eBay.
Jonathan, completely unrelated to what you're saying.
Are you kidding me? And then somebody hid in the bathroom this year. I think it was either Justice, it was either Shane's girlfriend Justice, or somebody else who came in, hid in the bathroom, and then when they opened, just beelined it for one of the booths to get her thing. It was like, I better not get you found. I'm hiding in the bathroom. Pull the legs up. Pull your legs up so they can't see you in the stall.
Jonathan, completely unrelated. Let's sidebar after this and talk about next year moving next to the Mattel booth. No reason why, just thinking about something. Yeah.
Just
Katie,
the
what were
walking.
you going to say?
I was just going to say, yeah, there was also a couple of different items that I didn't even realize were super huge. And forgive me, apparently the apartment next door is completely reconstructing it.
The Transformers are fighting out your window.
Yeah.
Heidi's
happens.
baking non-holiday, but Heidi's baking holiday cookies, not on a holiday, for a friend who requested her holiday cookies.
There you go. That's nice.
You might hear that. That's why I say it.
No worries. But yeah, no, I had no clue what a Labubu was, and
The end of Funko. If you've seen Funko's second quarter
My
earnings
God.
report,
Well, and
Labubu
it's-
is burying Funko.
yeah, well, and it's part of Funko too.
Is it?
What's crazy is that we had a press connect with Funko, and we did a big Funko Pop thing last year with the Wolverine Deadpool pops that they had. Was super cool. I still have them. We couldn't get near the booth the entire time, and we had emailed our contact a couple of weeks early, and they were like, "Oh, it's all completely sold out. You can try for another day." It was like the preview day, Wednesday preview day. They were completely sold out. We even had an interview with one of the Labubu marketing people, and we couldn't get near them because everyone was like, "We don't know who you are. Please turn around and go back in
This is
line."
the Labubu year, and one of the faux pas I made a couple months ago was I saw it early on, and I said, "Is that like a Monchichi?" And that just aged me because how would you describe Monchichis? But they were from like the 80s. They kind of came back a little bit in the 90s, right? Like those little Monchichi
I was gonna
monkeys.
say they were my era was Tamagotchi. Like, let's be real.
Sure.
And Pokemon. So
But Labubu took over. Would you say that it replaced Funko Pops this year? Like Funko Pop was in the corner. Maybe they're still popular, but Labubu was everywhere. This is the summer of Labubu.
Yeah, I did a little piece on this on Internet Supreme Court, but basically Funko Pop was giving them out sort of like in their mystery boxes, and then
Whoa.
it started to become a thing. So they also took over Petco Park, which was another place that we couldn't really get near, but we actually kept going to the wrong side of Petco Park, and that was why. But I am curious, Tessa, seeing as you were at the Nickelodeon booth for the big Avatar anniversary stuff,
Yeah.
I'm sure you had a lot of that experience too.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, like people's frustrations are building because there's just no really good, fair system either in place. Like I worked end of the line a few times and like people were not happy. And I get it. Nobody wants to wait in line that long. Nobody's happy if the line is cut, at that point or whatever. But I mean, it was like extra angry this year. And I think it's just because there is, like you guys were saying, so many more people. Tickets are sold out right away. Giveaways are done as soon as the hall is open, and I don't really know what the answer to that is. But for us, I know we had a Magic the Gathering giveaway. It was an exclusive card for Avatar, and we were supposed to be giving it away at the booth at 5 p.m. every day and at Petco Park every morning. The first day we tried, people were literally like knocking each other to the ground, like it was a physical fight. So security let us try to get it in order for about 15 minutes, and they said, "No, we got to stop this." So it was all outside of Petco Park for the rest of the con because that's how insane people were.
That's crazy. And I mean,
Yeah.
so has San Diego Comic-Con always been really driven towards this kind of like exclusives culture? Because not all conventions are like that. I mean, like the first time I went to Comic-Con, I was like, oh my God, I got a Marvel hat. I feel so cool. I was in Hall H and I got a Marvel hat. But like, I don't know that I've seen that at other conventions where it's like, this is the one place you can get the one version of the Funko Pop or Labubu.
I can only speak to like only a couple of times of going pre-pandemic, but I do know that it was really more about the celebration of sort of the geeky culture beforehand, and now it's definitely gotten that consumeristic, capitalistic, hell-bent marketing campaign attached to it. And I think that was pretty evidenced, at least by this year as well, because I mean, there were a lot of like cool experiences and things like that, but no one was really giving things away. Probably because there were so many people and they've already given all that stuff away. It was cool. We did get to go to the Abbott Elementary experience, and that was a lot of fun. The only thing that didn't have a line for it was the merry-go-round. And I got stuck on that thing like 4 or 5 times filming.
What?
And you can check that out on Geekscape's YouTube channel of Katie on the Panic Cam, because I randomly get a fear of heights, and that's fun. But apart from that, like there are like a lot of things that you can go and experience, even if you don't have a ticket into the convention. And I think that word has gotten widespread, mainly because I've been touting it for the last couple of years. Like, you don't have to have a ticket into the convention; you can enjoy all the nerdiness and celebration all around. And I think a lot of people did this year.
Would you say, Katie, that the inside the convention is actually less fun than the activations and how the city rolls out for Comic-Con?
It depends on what you go to Comic-Con for.
To push somebody out of a Labubu line.
Yeah. To push somebody out of a Labubu line.
To steal an Avatar last year
right.
and Magic the Gathering card from some kid.
Listen, we were just glad that we got a cabbage from Tessa.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You brought
squeezeball cabbage.
cabbages.
Yes.
Well, would you say that the activations are almost more fun? Because
They can be. I will say the one that I had the most fun with, I would say, is probably the Doctor Who experience. And the problem with that is that Maria and we're fans of Doctor Who, but we're not deep lore fans. And there was a lot of really cool stuff in that exhibit, but we just weren't connecting to much of it because we were like, I haven't watched it in ages, and I don't want to tell the person who's giving us a tour right now, who has a lovely British accent. But yeah, there wasn't that many like experiences where it was sort of like you were thrown into this thing that at least we got to participate in. I know the Twisted Metal bumper cars thing sounded cool. Our older bodies felt like we just couldn't go through that. But like when you go into the convention, it depends on like what you want. If you want to find like new interesting art or artists that have worked on different shows, or like a piece of their art or something, that's where the convention really does shine. And you also have these really wonderful talkback sessions. You have these incredible panels that you can go to. Brie and I went to a diversity in fantasy panel and met a whole bunch of new authors, and it was so cool getting to hear them talk about the struggles of like their genre and writing, but also getting to know like newer material and newer properties that are actually very interesting and things that we're going to get into in the next year. But yeah, it kind of depends on like what your nerd flow is. And I think that's one of the great things about Comic-Con is that you can find a pocket within San Diego that's celebrating that in some way or shape or form.
Yeah, I think that's fair because San Diego is kind of a funny mix of like a classic like comic book convention, like go on the floor, I want to find the specific original edition of issue whatever, and in like folks in Hollywood like trading inside show where it's like, oh, all the writers from, WGA have got together and they're doing a panel, but also they're kind of networking with folks who are, set deck or location scouts or whatever. And then there's also the like, I'm here for the fun exclusives to specific properties. Or if you're really into like one particular kind of fandom, there's at least three things in that fandom somewhere there. Like there's a lot of different styles and ways that you can approach it. I have a thesis and I want y'all's feedback on this. I felt like this year compared to in years past, there was less about the traditional Hall H, big name brand, huge, large scale, exciting experience thing going on. More activations and more folks on the floor rather than going to the other panels. That felt like that's where the energy had shifted this year. Would you
Well,
agree?
I would say that that's accurate because last year you had Marvel, they bring out Robert Downey Jr. People know all the ones that they had, and I think this year they filled Hall H. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but there was a Trauma presentation, Toxic
Yeah, there
Avenger,
was. Yeah.
and people love Trauma and Toxic Avenger, but it's a sharp decline from years past when Marvel and DC and Doctor Who has been there and things like that. All these things that you're talking about, and it was very noticeable. Although to what you said a moment ago, Sadie. It has been said before many times about San Diego Comic Con. It really should not be called Comic Con because almost no one is there for comic books. And you have to really look for where they are. And unfortunately, if you go and you like to peruse through the back issues and find deals, they can't bring like, oh, here's a box of dollar comics. No, no, they need to try to, as they say on South Park, make their nut. So they're going to bring the most expensive items and hope that they sell a few of them. And it is, that's why I like smaller cons. Jonathan has seen me at the one in Ontario, Comic Con Revolution, and LA Comic Con, which is coming up at the end of September. Get your tickets now.
We'll all be
So
there.
yeah,
We're gonna have a little booth there too.
oh, look at that. I didn't
Surprise!
even know.
It's just an artist booth, but we'll be there on a two-man booth, just hawking the product. Yeah.
All right,
So
if you want me to, I'll draw at it. Okay, it's fine. I'll draw pictures.
please,
No
I would
problem.
love.
Yeah,
I
it's
would.
great.
I know we have some signings that'll be there through that Zach from Two Hour Late Fees setting up, but we will chain you for 8 hours to the booth until you've drawn sufficiently.
I'm gonna draw a picture of Corey Feldman, and I'm gonna sign it to Zach Schaefer of $2 late fee.
It'll be the best day of his life. He'll be so excited. Sorry, continue. LA Comic Con. They want us to promote it since they
Yeah, I just thought this was a great time to mention that people should go, and I know there's going to be some great panels there. But no, I just wanted to kind of make those points that there was a little bit of there was a superstar lacking this year, and even so, they tried to make up for it. But actually trying to get comic books at Comic Con is kind of a no-win scenario. A Kobayashi Maru, if you will.
Is
Katie.
that representative of like
Nice.
people are talking about the superhero fatigue and this and that, and obviously I think Superman's doing great. Fantastic Four is doing well, but is that indicative of like the superhero fatigue or the overall economy in taking giant swings for these giant media properties? And if they're not returning an investment, then why would we do a Hall H, right? Why would we
I
invest
just
in a
well, I
giant?
think with Marvel in particular, they don't have anything to promote right now.
They didn't have a
Because
Fantastic Four movie hitting that same week.
well, no, because they felt like they had done all
Investment.
that. Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
I
Yeah.
will say, yeah, I was a little shocked that there wasn't much more Fantastic Four involvement. There was a cool light display last year. Was really into that, and the
I
thing
met
that
Herbie. I went and met
Their
Herbie.
booth was cool, right, guys?
the booth was
Yeah.
cool.
Booth was very
Booth
cool.
was another one that like you couldn't get near unless you were an insider
Right.
or a
I, I,
Christian Bale.
I just no, no. I actually was going to say I had to get there right early in the morning and sign up to get my picture taken with Herbie. That's all I signed up for, and I got waitlisted at like 9:30. And I did get a text I could go. In fact, I was at the booth. I was like, I have to leave. Herbie needs me, and I ran off. So, but even that, like just getting a picture with a robot who moves a little bit, he was less impressive than Tweaky from Battlestar Galactica. But I mean, sorry, from Buck Rogers. My apologies.
Yeah, you're thinking Boxy.
Yeah, I was thinking of Foxy.
You're thinking
Actually.
Boxy from Battlestar
Yeah,
Galactica.
yeah. But
We're old.
in any case, yeah, we sure are. Let's talk more about how old we are.
Talking about those late 70s, early 80s sci-fi TV shows.
Well,
Before I
think
was
that's
born.
yeah.
Yeah, we get it. We get it.
Welcome to the network, Sadie.
No, it's funny. I will say that I think a lot of the stuff that's been going on in Hollywood has been a major effect, not just making Comic-Con a little bit more prevalent, but also kind of taking the back burner in the last couple of years, because the last couple of years we've had the actor strikes, we've had the writer strikes, we've had production strikes, and then we've also had the video game strike that only recently was resolved, I guess, quote unquote. So I think a lot of that stuff too has been really difficult. I remember the year that there was the writer's strike and then it went into the actor's strike, and I remember getting a message, and I'm only eligible for SAG, which is hilarious. But they were like, if you go down to Comic-Con, don't do stuff. And so I had to cancel a couple of interviews because I was like, well, I don't want to go against a union.
Sure.
But I do think that has kind of played into a lot of like the presentation stuff. And obviously Marvel doesn't really have anything to present or show because they've kind of gotten everything they've got this year and put it out. And we won't really see much until mid next year?
I don't know when Spider-Man or when Doomsday
Spider-Man.
comes out.
Spider-Man's before Doomsday.
When is it? But it's not as soon as like November, December, is it? It's
No.
May?
It'll be exactly. It's May. And I guess it wouldn't have had much juice if they had done an Eyes of Wakanda panel, the 4-part animated miniseries.
Weren't you just surprised that came out? Like I was surprised that all 4 episodes had suddenly come out.
I was
And I
keeping
enjoyed them.
track of it. I didn't even realize that one had premiered, let alone all 4 of them. But we will be covering it on Marvel Movie Talk. If people
Oh
want to check
man,
that.
sign me up for that because I did enjoy it, and it was. I mean, one of the writers, Mark Burnett, came by the booth, and
Oh, cool.
he's wonderful. He's been, and Jeff Thorne is wonderful, and I think that's the one thing about the booth that I've always enjoyed is because early on, before we had the booth, like 2005 to 2010, it was all about being out. I was pressed for some of that, and then just doing some of those activations, like going through the Godzilla stuff with Derek was one of my favorite memories, and experiencing like the Sonic Cafe that actually opened like a day or two before the con. That was a lot of fun. But at the end but it's really exhausting. And I see Katie, and I'm like, yeah, give her a chair. She comes by the booth, give her a seat. She can sit on the table. She can sit anywhere she wants.
I just sleep on that floor, man.
Yeah,
her that
dogs are
carpeted floor.
barking. And then, but I, at the same time, being at the booth and having the con come to you, like I look up and Brian K. Vaughan is standing in front of me, and I get to talk to him for 10, 15 minutes. And it's just so wonderful. And that is kind of the only way I think that my old man self can do it at this point, because man, it's an endurance challenge to go to Comic-Con for those 5-6 days that Katie and you guys go down there, and you're on your feet the whole time. It's brutality.
Oh, I only went for 2 days, and I'm still recovering. So yeah, but I'm I'm even older than you.
Young at heart.
No,
I think another big shift too, like just comes with besides just the amount of people that are attending now, it's like the different kinds of people, like in the very beginning, it was really about comics. And then I remember when I first went, my boyfriend at the time wanted me to go, and he was like, oh, we can get your professional pass. It's not that hard. You're a professional actor. I was like, okay, cool, but I'm not really into comics. He's like, there's so much more beyond comics. And I went, sure enough, I loved it. But still then it was still about like the fandom, the geekdom of everything, And now it's like becoming more and more just like the Instagrammable experience, and like I see that even with the activations. I feel like when I used to go as an attendee, more activations had like at least something. Maybe it was like a scavenger hunt inside or something more interactive than just a photo op. But like, working the Nickelodeon booth, I would have so many parents come by, see the line and be like, so what's actually in the activation? And I'm like, literally, it's 3 photo ops. Like, if you're really into Avatar, your kids are going to love it. Otherwise,
You want to fight for a Pokemon card?
Yeah.
You want to fight for a Magic card?
If you want to actually brawl, that's at 5 o'clock. But
I think Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say that I think that is a problem that a lot of cons are generally dealing with is the Instagram of it all because LA Comic Con, my criticism of a lot of cons is a lot of the con is in the entry room floor in costume, taking Instagram photos with each other and not actually out there selling. And as an exhibitor, it's really difficult. And why San Diego is the one that we do, it's really difficult to exhibit at a con when a lot of the people aren't on the floor. They're in the entryway taking amazing photos and cosplaying. And I think the cosplay culture and Instagram and social media is really given a lot to that, and cons have gone all in because it's great free advertising for them. Like, come look great, meet these cosplayers, see these cosplayers, come to it. But as somebody who wants somebody to walk the floor and discover the product, that's difficult. I think the activations are going to they're going to start looking maybe like walls in Los Feliz that have a nice little angel wing on them. Like I think installations might all start turning into Instagrammable, shareable marketing opportunities, and we'll see what happens. There was definitely a shift at Comic-Con the year um that Twilight came out. I feel like Twilight was one where it was us geeks, it was us nerds. Harry Potter was kind of in the same fold, so that expanded it a bit. And then suddenly when the Twilight ones came out, and the YA stuff started going, not that Harry Potter's not, but like when it's really started going to like romance, it was a new demographic that came into Comic-Con and there was a shift. And I remember Shane getting yelled at by a Twilight fan. I mean, the the incoming Twilight fans around 2009, 2010, I think really changed it. And I think studios saw that. And now if something is just real closely related to pop culture, let's go for it and let's try it. And so I there's a lot of the hardcore gatekeeping geeks are going to be mad about that, but who cares? Like who cares if there is a high school reunion activation, right? Or I remember like it was something similar to like high school reunion had a big place on the floor one year and people were like that's not a comic book, that's not a superhero, it's not pop culture, it's not magic, it's just high school reunion. Like what is with that? It's a fandom. You got to let it go. It belongs. Keep it. And I think that we may be going back towards the middle, but I just want to say Twilight's where I saw the big shift, and I think we're still kind of in it. I think it's going to have to shift again to survive the studios not pumping out the product like they're going to. And I think it
Or
has to
have
survive.
been.
Yeah, have
Yeah.
been. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be another shift next year. Labubu is the only thing that may save us. But I mean,
Ooh, definitely took
do you
over.
guys feel like next year is going to have a react? Does every year like react to the year prior?
I feel
It
like
might. Yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I feel like that's probably pretty accurate because I went in, like I said, 2022, which was when everybody's reacting to the fact they've been locked in their homes. So the behavior is very different. And then 23 was the writer's strike and the SAG strike. And so it was like very much focused on craft and not specific shows. And then I felt like the year after that I missed was when there was the big Doctor Doom. Like they were like, no, no, we're going big on the IP, big on the big studios. This year didn't feel like that. And so I think there's got to be some kind of swing that happens.
You're getting a Hall H presentation, Blatt, next year.
Yeah, and actually, we'll be doing the same show next year, and I'll be showing off my Tron Labubu, and you'll all be jealous, and I'll be like, no, I'm keeping it. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've got my Hall H panel is going to be on celebrating 40 years of Marvel's new universe. So make sure that you turn up for that.
Oh, that makes me feel
Nice.
so old. 40 years
Yeah.
is new. I'm like, whoa, geez.
No,
Marvel's
the
new
new, no,
universe.
most
No,
people don't
Marvel's
even
new universe
know
was
the
in
new universe.
85.
Well,
Oh, good.
86.
Okay.
So
I was
40
like,
years
Yeah.
It was for the 25th anniversary, and they
If the
canceled.
Fantastic Four were 1961,
Yeah.
in 1986, Marvel was like, this is going to be the new wave of
Yeah.
characters. None of them stuck,
Except
except the Star Brand.
Star Brand's still
Star
around.
Brand stuck, and you saw her in What If season 3. But one thing about Tron, I will say, is I was surprised by I'm still surprised by like the excitement of like the Tron brand. It kind of feels almost Avatar-like, where people only get excited when those things actually emerge, but they go nascent in between movies. The coolest thing I've seen at Comic-Con outside of the con floor was when the last Tron movie, when Tron Legacy came out, they like a month or two or three before the movie was going to come out in the fall, they did a giant private party, which was a culmination of a live event they had been doing all year long, which started at Comic-Con the year prior. And Tron fans jumped on it. And my buddy Skip invited me to the party. I didn't earn it, but he invited me as his plus one. He had earned entry to the party by following this ARG, this alternate reality game, the entire year that happened in the real world. And it was like the dropping of backpacks. Like, remember when there was a Spider-Man movie? I think it was Spider-Man Homecoming, and they were like, hey, follow this website. Peter Parker's gonna be dropping a backpack, and it's at Third Street Promenade. And if you can hack the coordinates, you can go find it. And inside of it had like a bunch of merch and cool stuff. This was for Tron, and it was everywhere. It was like people running after each other in Vegas. Like, I'm hearing crazy stories standing in line. Like, oh yeah, my buddy was chased out of this arcade in Vegas, and he was late by 2 minutes to the backpack. And these people were so intense. I go into the party, and there's some cool sponsored stuff. Like there was like a custom Tron Nintendo, there's a custom, or it was a PlayStation controller, cool stuff. But if you just get like a Coke, it would come on a coaster you could take over to the wall and rotate and put into this little thing, and it would end up putting in a code. Like, there's a path of the code in the wall, and then have the code on the coaster. And if you rotate it, you'd complete the sequence of letterings that you then put into the website to unlock more stuff on your phone. They have your email now, and then you can go to a different room and do all this stuff. It was like almost an escape room slash party that was so much fun and so intensive. That ARG has to have I mean, those fans were so fervent that it's like, okay, this is why that movie did well that first weekend. It really looked slick. It was really cool. And then the party was basically that party, or the club from the movie. And it was awesome. That's the best Comic-Con anything that I'd seen.
I
And
have
I don't
two
think we
thoughts.
have those anymore.
I have two thoughts on that, which is really interesting. I actually like, I think all the virtual reality stuff is silly, but I think the ARG thing is being criminally underutilized in some ways because
It's
do you remember
expensive.
when, well, yeah, but like Pokemon Go, holy hell, do you know how much data and people were playing that? I mean, they had festivals in Chicago, downtown in Grant Park, and it was like thousands of people out in the park because each region was a different geographic region where you find different
These
kinds of
Tron fans have
rare
been
and
playing it
shiny.
all year.
Yeah, I mean, like I get it's expensive, but talk about a way to generate buzz without having to be limited to a single geographic location or like a single thing, right? It's like, okay, this is what's going on in this city or this. So I think that's interesting. But what I wanted to like bring back to conventions as well is the parties. So this year was the first year I've ever gone to like a hosted
Nice.
party. I went to the Den of Geek and Geeks and Sundry. They did like a board game party, and I very much appreciated the goal that they were going for, which was like telestrations and like all kinds of fun, weird little fast board games on tables. And I was like, oh, I get it. You're really trying to lead into the like geeks. We love to have like a board game night. But it was on a Thursday night, and I say night loosely because it was like 5 to 7 p.m. It was really early. And then also they didn't have a good way to separate where like the food and drinks were and where the games were. So all the tables were reserved for the games. So people would come in, get a drink, didn't want to sit down and play a game, and then would just be like clustered tight in one area or leave. And there was no music playing, which I get once again, if you're having a board game night, you want to be able to hear each other. But like it made for the weirdest vibe. And my friend who I went with was telling me about how in years past they'd gone and it was a rooftop bar and it was crazy fun and like everyone showed up and I was like, what happened to the parties, man?
Yeah, there's been a weird kind of turn. I feel like just in terms of like the celebration aspect, sort of the generosity in a way where it's like it's harder to get into these parties for some reason, and then B, it's often like, oh, it's just this. Okay, thank you.
You don't want to see the All American Rejects play?
I'm sure I would have.
There's like a fifth member of the All American Rejects that couldn't get into the All American Rejects like fandom party. Probably he's like, oh, I'm in the band, guys, please. It was the fandom party, I think, this year. But guys,
Yes, it was in
remember
the
the
Hard
Wired
Rock.
Lounge? That was the hot ticket, the Wired Lounge, because you could eat lunch for free.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
been like that's pre-pandemic is the Wired Lounge.
Right,
Rest in
right.
peace, Wired Lounge.
Nerdist too used to take over Pepco Park and have like a huge
Oh,
party there, and those were really good
in
parties.
their
Like,
Walking Dead zombie run and stuff.
yes, which I was one of the zombies for. Yeah, in years past. Yeah, no, there, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's just like people aren't feeling very celebratory lately, especially with, I don't know, being in America and it being an international event. I was a little bit worried, especially coming into this convention this year, whether or not we were going to have some interesting, occurrences,
Altercations, yeah.
the altercations, and I'm really glad we didn't. But it was definitely, I feel like everyone kind of had that like pit of your stomach acid just like settled there. Like if something were to happen, I'll have a plan of where to go or how to get out or whatever. And I kind of wondered if the parties were of that same ilk as well, because, the stuff that we did get invited to, we went to like maybe a few things, but we pretty much just chilled at my parents' place, and made a bunch of like coconut ice cream and stuff because it was like so much easier to take our feet off and sit down. But yeah, I will say that the parties itself wasn't quite what it used to be either. I mean, there was a year when Star Wars did their whole celebration stuff out on the lawns, and that was a cool thing. And that was a thing that you didn't have to necessarily be a part of anything or have like an expensive ticket in order to access or a press access. And I don't know if it's the convention in general just trying to weed out like what specific people they want for their events, or if they don't really want to take the risk of these events happening. I mean, even last year there was supposedly there's like a penguin event that was really cool and people were talking about, and we couldn't find or get near. But this year, yeah, I think it was the fandom party at the Hard Rock Cafe and
Entertainment Weekly.
Entertainment Weekly, yeah.
Comic Book Legal Defense Fund has a comics professionals party that's always popular, but I think that they're just not spending money. I mean, if the studio is going to spend the money, I think Comic-Con will take it. I think the venues will take it. I just don't think they're spending the money. I think we're having a retraction in the economy, and people are waiting to see what things are going to cost. Thanks, Taco. I think studios are like, we don't know how much this technology is going to cost in 6 months, right? We don't know how much a ticket's going to, we don't know what inflation's going to do. We don't know if inflation's going to happen to the extent it's going to happen. I think the fluctuating uncertainty of what's going on with the economy is causing a lot of these studios to say, hey, we're not going to go all out and do the Iceberg Lounge for the Penguin activation this year. I don't think we're going to go and hire a bunch of people, like during the purge to run through the streets like they're members of the purge and promote that. We're not going to do the ice cream trucks that give out free stuff. I think this is like a hold year, which is why I think next year, Christian Blatt, Hall H.
Well, next
Release
year, I'm
the hounds.
actually planning on celebrating. I'm going to have a Dean Cain dunk tank, and there's already been a lot of interest in it. And all I have to do is
if he was smart, he would have had an opportunity this year. Like Dean Cain, there was room for you, pal.
He could have cosplayed as his little ice character.
Look, we all know
you would have blown it.
We all know it only costs $50,000 to get him, and I can get that together, so it'll be great.
How much is Kirk
Sign-on
Cameron?
bonus.
How much is Kirk Cameron in that chameleon Muppet he has on his children's show with
He
the
already-
Freedom Island?
He already got raptured.
Yeah,
How much for the
yeah.
shoes he left behind?
I'm gonna have to go momentarily, so I just wanted to throw in the one thing that I
uncomfortable for you,
mentioned
pal?
earlier. Yeah, it's too much because you know how I feel about Kirk Cameron.
He's gonna call you. You're gonna get an angry voicemail from Kirk.
Well, you actually do know how I feel about Kirk Cameron because you had Jeremy Miller on your show, and
that's
you know
right.
it's like Michael Jackson. You can be a fan through bad and maybe dangerous, and you have to draw the line at a certain point.
Jeremy
So it's
Miller
like,
is the man. He came to Ophelia's birthday party.
He's great.
It was so sweet.
yeah. So it's like I can like Growing Pains until like 1990. Okay, that's where it's
So the
still
Leo year.
right, exactly. Once Leo was on. But I just wanted to say, actually getting to do a panel that's a part of Comic-Con. This was or San Diego Comic-Con. This is the first time I got to do that. And it was in the library. It was the Weird Al panel, the Weird Algorithm panel. And you look out at those people and you go like, oh yeah, these are people who are nerds for Weird Al. Like I am a nerd for Weird Al, but I'm also a nerd for Fantastic Four and all the other stuff. And I kind of think that that's what it is when you're talking about Twilight and all that stuff. People are nerds and geeks, as Geekscape would imply, for all this stuff. And maybe there's not always a lot of crossover, but to what you said earlier, Jonathan, if somebody's yelling at Shane, odds are they're probably right.
Yeah. And you know what she said? He said, well, Shane doesn't drink anymore, and those were some really interesting Comic Cons. But he said he said something about Twilight to her. It wasn't derogatory. He just said effing Twilight fan or something. And because somebody got hit. Oh, that's what it was. Somebody got hit by a car. Do you remember when somebody got hit by a car crossing harbor a couple years? It was like 2009, 2010. One of the Twilight fans trying to get to the Hall H like camp out on the green was hit by a car. And we didn't know as we were crossing the street that there were Twilight fans next to us. And he's like, let's wait for the light. You don't want to get hit by like that effing Twilight fan. And the woman just went off on him. It was a pretty insensitive thing to say. And so she went off on him, and she actually said the thing that was true. To your credit, Christian, she said she was right in yelling at him. She goes, "We're all at the same con."
Exactly.
Boom.
Yeah.
End of story. Boom. We're all at
And
the
he
same
and he
con.
probably laughed at her when she said, "And he's going to be the next Batman." And he's like, "Okay, that's the craziest thing I've ever heard. Keep walking, lady. Keep walking."
Well, Tessa, I know you also have to leave early, so do you have any final thoughts?
I do. I actually am curious if any of you guys heard the rumor that I heard, which is that they're thinking about moving Comic-Con to Vegas.
They've been trying that for years. It was Anaheim.
Is this just a rumor that gets
and it was
thrown
Vegas.
around? Like, okay.
The
think
lease isn't
so.
up yet. And like I don't
Okay.
think, I mean, trust me, if that shipyard wasn't there, we would have Hall H and then IJKLO. Like it would just keep
Yeah.
growing, but the shipyard, and I think the Bayfront jumped on it. Like the shipyard doesn't allow for the expansion of the convention center, but there was a time when that convention center building was ABC.
Mm.
And they kept expanding on it. So when you see the sales pavilion, everything from the sales pavilion east is new
Yeah.
building, and it used to just be everything west of that sales pavilion. I
Gotcha.
think there was talk of Vegas, there was talk of Anaheim.
There's
I think, and then they've expanded to Anaheim. They put WonderCon there,
Right.
Oh,
and
yeah.
and they can grow it or they can't. But the Anaheim Convention Center is a bigger convention center than San Diego. Vegas is, and so is Los Angeles. Los Angeles has a bigger convention center. LA Convention Center is bigger than the San Diego Convention Center. You'd think that packing a bunch of people in sardines makes it look huge. The San Diego Convention Center is not the biggest of any of those four. It's the smallest, but that would kill it. There's
Yeah.
nothing like San Diego Comic-Con. And also the sea breeze air, you need it
Yeah.
because we don't shower as nerds.
Which was one of the
I
greatest
mean-
things about the Superman Old Spice crossover experience was that they were just making all the nerds smell better.
Yeah. I
We
could
need
not
that sea
imagine
air.
everyone in the streets at like on the Vegas Strip trying to wait in line for activations. Like,
Especially in the
No, thank you.
summertime.
I was going to say when it's
Yeah.
112.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
What's
you.
the tech conference in January? The tech conference in January
CES.
is CES. And like the porn companies, when we used to attend CES, would be like, why is the porn convention here at the same time? Oh, they're jumping on it. Got
Yeah.
it. Ah, Jonathan, that's
Yeah,
funny.
makes sense.
Yeah, it would just turn into more debauchery.
Meanwhile, the smaller, cheaper conventions are like, should we go to Texas in August? Yeah, that's when the hotels are cheapest. You're like, no.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
Yeah. No, I think that's interesting. Do you think that because there are now more different kinds of fans, that there is more people breaking into tribes or more cross-cultural seeding? Does that make sense as a question?
Or is the online tribalism
Just
materializing in
life.
San Diego where the gangs all show up and they're all doing their own thing? You know, does that make sense, guys? Like,
yes.
because we're tribal throughout the year. Online, we're all tribal throughout the year. The pandemic made it worse. And then you show up and it's like Yu-Gi-Oh versus Pokemon and all these different things. Is there a lack of love these days in Comic-Con that was there prior?
I think it's because what we talked about a little bit earlier about the superhero fatigue just being kind of a general phrase right now, on top of the fact that like Marvel's not really doing a whole hot mess of stuff. DC seems to be gearing up, so I was a little bit shocked that Warner Brothers, I'm not that shocked that Warner Brothers didn't put a little bit more effort into Comic-Con, but at the same time, would have been smart. especially with all the stuff that they said that they were going to be doing in the next couple of years, I think we've gotten so far away from the actual comic books that it's starting to try and refine what Comic-Con is going to be about in the next decade. And I think because we have so many different new versions of comic books and new styles, I mean, what was it, Harriet Tubman Demon Hunter or Demon
Yeah.
Slayer? We had a big interview with a couple years ago, and so cool. Can't wait to see that. And we've heard tell that like there is somebody attached to it of big import, but we haven't seen anything about that. So there's always stuff in the mix and whatnot. But I think the love of it is more, how are we expressing this at least in Comic-Con, or how are we exploring the depths of this property or whatever more in Comic-Con? And I don't know if many people have anything other than the Marvel stuff that's been happening, and kind of that bubble popped a while ago along with the streamers. So it's going to be interesting when we don't have the funding of like Marvel or DC or the major comic book stuff. Maybe that will give way to better artists and people who have been often overlooked, and maybe more independent things will come to light. I
I
don't
hope the
know.
money's there. I mean, at the end of the day, I hope
I'd
the
hope.
money's there to support all of them.
Yeah.
Like
But
support all of them.
yeah.
I also wonder if something, I mean, like, and this has been an ongoing shift, but like the shift to streamers and instantly dropping entire seasons rather than being on that kind of like weekly schedule. I think that, sure, Netflix existed in 2015, but also there were lots of shows that were coming out weekly that had had these really long runs that we don't see anymore. Now we mostly get, like, oh, I love The Boys, but I'm not going to get a season for 2 years while I wait for them to film it and do all the like post-production and get everything. And I get why it's very well produced. And also it's 8 episodes every 2 years is kind of hard to like maintaining that kind of interest and excitement. And I wonder if also just the ways that like at least television properties have shifted, that also affects where they're going to put their money and when they would go to a convention, and if that's pulled some of that out as well.
I
Meanwhile, we
think
got
if the
all of Squid Game, but I didn't see a whole lot of Squid Game there this year. And we got all of Squid Game at once. So that's the counter argument is
Yeah.
that they burned through Squid Game and we didn't get any Squid Game.
Well, I think it depends on the IP itself, because yes, you're looking at it in terms of TV series, but I mean, in the heyday, we got a Star Wars movie every 3 years, and then we got no Star Wars movies for 16 years, and you can decide whether or not they should have started making them again. But there was nothing for a long time, but people still loved it. There was 7 hours of content, if you don't count the Christmas special, although I do.
The
So
Ewok
that
movies, the
well, I love
Ewok,
I love the Ewok movies, but I mean
and the droid
that
cartoons,
yeah,
the Ewoks
and the
cartoons.
Ewoks cartoons, of course,
All we
and
had.
it was all we had for a long time.
All we
And
had.
so it just depends. I think that if people approach their 8 episode season as the event that it is, like it's a movie, I don't know how it's going to pay off. I feel like they're doing that with the last round of Stranger Things. They're sort of pointing out like, yeah, look, this is going to be it. You better enjoy it. Here's what you're going to get. I don't know if people will feel rewarded, but by stringing us along for 22 weeks, then you get the series finale of Lost. And I think they used up all their goodwill and they're like, no, I'm not giving you 22 weeks ever again. That's because of you, Damon Lindelof. You will never get my patience again. And on that note, I do have to run, but it was great chatting with everybody. And the Lost
Good to
finale
see you,
sucked.
Christian.
It really sucked. That's all I'm saying.
It did. It did. I wonder if there was a Comic-Con crossover.
Perfect final words from
I would
Christian.
drop him too after being like that. He was so
You're
negative.
done. You're cut off.
I would have cut him off too, Sadie.
Well, I also have to go, but I do want to pose one more thing, just kind of relating to all of this. Like, it's definitely being noticed by, the man of Comic-Con, whoever runs the whole thing. Because like things like, for instance, getting tickets, being an attendee, like professional passes used to get you in for free. If you were able to get a professional pass, which, like I said, wasn't really that hard to do if you were working in the entertainment industry, would get you a free pass. And now you have to be specifically a professional in the comic book realm, which, I mean, there's
And
like
a creative, you can't work in the back. Like my friends in post,
yeah,
they don't
yeah,
get the pro badges anymore. They
Yeah.
have to be
yeah.
they've demarcated into two like categories.
I may not be in the
Crazy.
Screen Actors Guild union, but I am in post-production union, and
Yeah.
yeah, they don't really care.
Yeah. But it's kind of interesting because I almost don't know how to feel about that. Like, yes, part of me, who used to attend is like, oh, well, that sucks. I don't think I want to spend all that money and then have to spend money on a hotel and getting down there and all of that. But I also see it as like, well, the actual comic book related people that go to this con that have always loved this con are kind of really getting, like you guys said, pushed to the side. They are not really having like the panel excitement that they used to, the shopping excitement that they used to, all of that. So I guess part of me is like, well, at least they're still getting something to be able, to participate in this. So I don't know. I kind of have mixed feelings, and I'll let you guys discuss it because I have to run, but I did want to just point that out because it's something I've been thinking about too.
I honestly think, in just to tell you, Tessa, the success of Comic-Con has been so like huge that it has turned into nationwide cons in multiple cities on the same
Mhm.
weekends throughout the year, because Comic-Con has been such a behemoth that now there are double cons every weekend throughout the year. So those comic book creators, they've got cons to go to. There's multiple signings. I mean, this coming
Fair.
weekend has the horror convention here,
Fan
and then
Expo in
it
Chicago.
the Fan Expo in Chicago, and the one that I'm doing, the San Jose Galaxy Con. Three conventions in
Mhm.
major cities in the same weekend, and that's how it looks year round. And that's because of San Diego. I
Yeah.
think that's because of San Diego Anime Expo and the video game conventions being so, E3 being the first one, and then now the the two coastal ones. Like, that stuff
Mhm.
is only because of Comic-Con.
Yeah.
So if you want to sign your comics, go to one of these smaller cons. It'll be cheaper for you, and you'll
Makes
probably make more
sense.
money,
Yeah.
not competing against the boys, right?
Right. Totally makes sense. All right,
Thanks for
guys. I'll see
joining.
you later. Yeah.
Good to see you,
Bye.
Tessa.
Tessa's the best.
Love it. I actually think
Foolish.
it is interesting that that you pointed out there's so multiple conventions every weekend now, because I think you're totally right. And I wonder if that's almost like it's kind of Kronos birthing its own destruction, in that like
Mm.
It
we
was
now
for
there's
Wizard World.
there's so many
Like,
conventions
Wizard
that you're
World
like,
got out of control.
yeah.
It overexpanded, it got too big, and it couldn't cover the weekends. And we'll see how FanX and GalaxyCon do that similarly, just for that sliver of comic book fan and TV and movie pop culture fans, right? The video game conventions, the anime conventions, I don't know how they're handling that stuff. There's a lot of VO people at all those cons who do anime, but there's a lesson to be learned from what happened with Wizard World and how they were expanding into cities that maybe didn't have the population to support them, or weren't near the city centers to support them, or had oversaturated the marketplace. And I know that, like what a contract looks like for talent, and is like, you can't go back to a convention in that same 250-mile radius for another 60, 90 days. So if you're signing at LA Comic Con, let's hope that it's late enough that you weren't just signing at the anime con, because you may still be under the contract and not be able to do it. And I know I've invited people to do stuff at LA Comic Con, and they weren't able to do it because they're still under like a moratorium on their appearance. Because if you do it too much,
Right.
no,
Overexposure. You're
yeah, we'll
like,
see
no
you in
one's
Right.
going to be
2 months.
interested. Yeah.
So we'll see how this works. But there are three major cons coming up this weekend. One in San Francisco, the LA Horror Con, and then you got Chicago FanX.
And
Yeah.
then this last weekend was Star Trek in Las Vegas.
And
Yes, that's
Connecticut.
right.
And Connecticut had a major Comic Con.
Yeah.
Crazy. That
Yeah.
that Vegas, that Trek Vegas is awesome though.
Trek
My only
Vegas
reason to go
is
is-
fun.
Remember that
I've
one,
never
Heidi?
been, but yeah.
I want to go
Heidi,
so bad, but
remember?
my ultimate goal is that I want to do the Trek cruise, because I think cruises are disgusting, but I love Star
Star Trek
Trek, and I
Vegas.
want to know what it's like to be stuck on a boat with those people.
Dude,
Heidi and I had a
especially with the lower decks crew. Like,
we got what was the
Remember we went to
assimilated
Star-
by the Borg.
Oh yeah, Star Trek Vegas. We got assimilated by the Borg.
nice. Very cool. Very cool.
Sorry, sweetie.
We saw the Borg.
And we saw lots of people at Star Trek Vegas. It was crazy.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to
No,
cut
you're
you
good.
off.
I was just
Get in here and talk Vegas.
The goal of my final convention on this season would be hilarious if I did a like live from the cruise ship and it was just Star Trek cruise.
Dude.
That'd be
Did you
hilarious.
guys see the poop cruise documentary on
Yes!
Netflix?
I didn't
Those things
know.
look so unsanitary. It's like a hostage crisis being on one of those cruise ships. Like it's
This is
scary.
why you gotta go for European Norwegian cruise. Just speaking from personal experience, it was my first and former cruise that I've ever done. Not last, but probably will be for a minute. But great food,
How big was
really
the
great
ship?
stuff. It was huge. It was destructively large. Like to the point where I was like,
continent.
I never have a problem with boats or anything like that. I've never been on a cruise. But my friend was like, "Oh, I have a huge." He's like, "It doesn't make sense. Why do they float like that? That's too much." And I was like, "Displacement. It's water displacement. Like
Yeah.
it makes scientific sense." And he's like, "No, once you see it for the first time, you're not gonna understand it." And then I saw it for the first time, just like looking up, and my neck kept craning back, and I was like, "Oh, I don't get this. This is
Like a mall
terrifying."
plus hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Crazy.
but it is fun, and I can only imagine, especially because I follow like Tawny Newsome and a bunch of different people, and the Star Trek cruise looks
That's
hilarious and fun, and especially when it
Comic-Con
comes
has one now.
yeah.
to Comic-Con has one
I
now,
saw
yeah.
Felicia Day was talking about it and I was like,
Yes.
that seems on brand. They're doing a supernatural cruise over Thanksgiving weekend and it's been they couldn't get enough. They made a lot of mistakes. They couldn't get the two leads to go. So Jared and Jensen were like, "No, I'm going to be with my family. It's Thanksgiving."
Yeah.
And so like that was a little bit of a mess up. So not that many people signed up. So they don't even have the whole boat. They only have part of the boat. It's
You're
like
sharing it with what? A bunch of furries?
I don't know. That has
That's-
happened though. They
Are
have
you
shared.
doing it, Sadie? Are you
I am
doing
not because I have self-respect. A little bit.
it?
Lies until we get you funded for
Yeah.
a
Okay, how
whole
much?
cruise
Let's see. Let me
season.
find this.
No,
How
but
much
they're
for this
charging
cruise? How
like
much to send you for this
more than
cruise?
$1,000 over the ticket to just be on the
Oh,
boat. So some people are like,
see,
"Can I just
that's
get on
not
the boat
okay.
and see people?" And they're like, "Well, all the event stuff is going to be locked to this other area, so you can't." And I was just like, "Oh, this is." I
That's ridiculous.
can't wait to see on Twitter and Discord how this shakes out.
Sadie, what would it cost to get you? What would it take to get you on that boat? Like, what would that thing need to offer to get
Covering
you on
the actual
Yeah,
ticket.
the boat?
covering the
Like,
ticket.
what fandom? Like, what would they have to throw at you besides Jared and Jensen being present? Like, what would if Jared and
means-
Jensen were present? Would you do it?
No, because it's over Thanksgiving, and I actually really enjoy that
Listen.
holiday.
You like your family that
It's a good
much?
holiday.
Yeah,
Listen, it is good. Okay, so first
Would
off,
be-
just move the weekend.
yeah. Move the weekend.
What's your ideal supernatural cruise weekend?
Sometime in like I don't know, like April or May or something.
Okay,
When-
April or May.
Yeah.
And then like what would you need beyond just the actors and some fan events and things like that? Like
I would
you want to
want.
like summon a fucking demon, right? Like that'd be
Yeah,
cool.
obviously. I mean, I want like the whole boat. Take like we should all be there for the same thing. I like no normies, please. If I'm going full bore.
Right.
Okay.
And I want wherever we go to be somehow interesting and thematically relevant.
Okay.
Like, okay, if we're
Mm.
gonna go to like the Caribbean, let's talk about like some like
Voodoo?
OG Caribbean beliefs of like like voodoo and like let's actually learn about some of the like local mysticism. Or if they're gonna talk about, Hunter's Helper and all the drinking on the show, like great, let's do a distillery tour and talk about
Cool.
how whiskey is different than rum. Like give me more. I want more texture to
something.
it.
Okay.
I could plan it. I can't make
Speaking-
anything happen.
There's an opportunity
Speaking of
here.
rum, we still have a little bit left of your rum that you brought down to San Diego Comic-Con, and I just got actually an audition where I have to like create a drink on camera, and I was like, oh, I think I'm gonna talk a little bit about this rum distillery that I know.
You totally should. I actually got connected with the set designer for Supernatural because I showed someone the bottle of rum and I was like, doesn't this look like vintage Americana like it would be on the set? And they sent him a picture and he reached out. He was like, oh yeah, that's a great design bottle. I was like, do you want to be on my podcast?
Be on my podcast and use our rum to maybe fill in the background of something.
Yeah, I was like, when you guys have the comeback, I want the rum in the background, please.
Yeah,
Who is
absolutely.
that? Who'd you get connected with?
Jerry Wannick.
Jerry's amazing.
He's so cool.
Jerry would just send me to set and be like, "Hey, go over and touch that. It looks like wood, right?" Or like, "It looks like steel," and he's like, "It's all styrofoam.
He's
It's all
incredible.
styrofoam." Jerry's like one of the nicest dudes I've ever met.
He was so nice, and I was just in Milwaukee, and so we were talking about like Chicago and Milwaukee and all the Midwestern vibes and everything. But I totally forgot. Like I read through his IMDb before we did the interview, but I was like, oh, do you ever wish you could have done more like American Southwestern sets while you were on Supernatural? I was like, well, I did do all the Larry McMurtry stuff, so and I was like, oh my
Yeah, they did the
God,
Western
I
stuff.
forgot he did all those Westerns.
Hmm. But Jerry's
So
the
cool.
coolest dude, and I hope he's working on some cool stuff now because he's incredibly talented.
He's been doing
Yeah.
a lot of painting and looking into some jobs. That's what he told me. So
Good for
yeah,
him, man,
yeah,
because that guy is beyond talented. That
100%.
stuff, like everything was foam in Man of Letters. I was like, this is all just foam and wood, and it looks like stone and
It
steel.
looks so
Yeah.
It's
good.
great.
It is incredible, and I honestly I would love to just like maybe even next Comic-Con or something like that. I'd love to talk to some people that make these sort of like props or sets or whatnot, because it's fascinating how they do it and like what it takes to build something like that. I mean, even geez, I wish they had something like that at Comic Con this year because we have that insanely cool shot from Fantastic Four that is a total miniature of like the ship and walking Galactus walking through the set, and it's a really cool miniature. We had some cool Lego stuff, which was exactly looking like the convention center, which was awesome,
I
but
think it was cool.
it
Yeah.
looked cool.
Katie, are you happy with the press opportunities you get? Like, are these people that you're super interested in, or do you take them because they're available to you, or out of like that's the gig, or like are because I want you guys to go down there and just kind of pursue your passions and your interests,
Sure.
and if you aren't, I don't want you to like burn yourselves out. I want you to go have fun, but like,
No,
are the
totally.
press
Here's the
opportunities
thing.
cool?
The press opportunities, they can be cool. It takes, I think, like what Christian was talking about, you have to go in with a plan. And
Mm.
when you're coming off of like back-to-back shows or podcasts or work just in general and like going in, even with a limited amount of time of like what press stuff does come in before Comic-Con and what like, I mean, you get like a bunch of emails and sorting through all of that is its own task in and of itself.
You got to make a spreadsheet and all
Luckily,
this craziness. Yeah.
yeah, you got to make a spreadsheet. You got to understand who your contacts are. You got to understand like what the conversation has been before in previous years, whether or not you had to skip out on an interview for Apple TV Plus because there was a strike going on, and that's probably why they won't let you have a interview with the guy who was on Murderbot who just created a new comic that we really wanted to talk to, but all of that aside, I mostly went down this year as like a support tool just for my co-host Marie, who has a real interest in zombie lore type stuff right now, and she's creating more and more interest within that whole genre in terms of like creating a podcast and like kind of going through why the zombie genre has changed over the years. So we did a lot of stuff, and I pretty much just I ran camera, microphones, and a lot of health potions this year. That was fun though. I mean, literally the only thing that gets me through Comic-Con or any kind of big event where there's a bunch of people is making sure I've got my vitamin C and like ginger and some seltzer water.
Did either of you guys have like because that whole indie press like area near us, like there was a kind of a few of them came out with COVID on the other end of it. Did you guys have any experiences after con of like you obviously you're fatigued, but did you have anything like, oh yeah, I wasn't feeling good, or I got con crud, or I remember one time the last ticket I ever got was I turned a right turn on red because just wasn't paying
Just
attention.
fully too exhausted to notice.
Just
Yeah.
like, no, dude, give it one more day after Comic Con. You didn't see that there was a no turn on red signal, and you got a ticket. Surprise. Did you
I
Oh,
guys have
didn't.
any issues like that the day after?
Not this year. I didn't get con cred this year, which I'm very thankful for. I will say that I made the mistake of scheduling my flight late in the afternoon, and I forgot that I'm also two time zones over. And so I
uh,
got in at like 1 or 1:30 in the morning,
Ooh.
and
yeah.
then took a car home. So it was probably 2. And also just like felt gross from all the late travel. So then I had to
Sure.
shower before going to bed. And I was like, oh, I'm really excited to get my 3 hours of sleep
Oh,
tonight.
dude. Oh, no
But that
kidding.
was, I made that mistake. I should have known better.
Well, I mean, it's the excitement of the actual convention, and then it's sort of like the taking care of yourself part is like a whole different process, and finding the time in order to do that, I'm sure,
How did
is
Mark
also.
like it? How did Mark, did he get hit by it? Like it was his first con, right? Or his first
No,
San Diego?
this was
No.
not his for San Diego Comic-Con. His first was like 2 years ago or so, and he actually really enjoyed the fact that he came down a little bit later, down on the train and
Nice.
stopped by, and he helped us out with some of the filming of like the lodge, the Paramount Lodge, which was cool this year, and I will say did have the best Vulcan completely in character, no matter what I said or did, and she freaking ruled
Can't
to
shake
the
her.
point where I got nervous, and I was like, I don't know where they hired you from, but I bet you're in LA. Because
She
you
could
are
be from Vulcan.
stunningly good. She
She's
could
from
be.
Vulcan.
She could be from Vulcan. But yeah, no one got cred as far as I know. I know we were exhausted and tired, but yeah, we didn't have any leftover phlegm or anything like that. And that it
The
happens almost every
dominoes
year.
just started dropping like the day after, and because
Uh,
we're right next to indie press, we have a lot of friends in indie press and indie publishing, and like, dude, it's like every day for that following week was like, yep, I got it. Yep, you
yeah,
might want to get tested if we hung out. Yep, I got it. I got it. I got it. I was like, this
That
sucks.
was me
yeah,
last August. I went to a convention in Austin, and because it was so hot out, nobody wanted to like sit outside for meals and things. And then
sure,
there was a concert the night after the convention had ended. It was supernatural, obviously. Jensen was playing with his band Radio Company at this tiny 100-year-old venue called Sagebrush. And so like
cool.
everybody's rushing the stage, which means they're all breathing hard on each other. And literally the next day it was like COVID, 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 COVID. And I was like, oh, great. I also got it. And I didn't even rush the
Yeah,
stage. I was laying in the
yeah.
You should
bed.
have then. You should have rushed the stage.
Should know better.
You should have
Shoulda,
breathed
woulda,
on it.
coulda.
You could have breathed on him. You could have gotten Jensen's COVID.
You know what? This part I'm going to cut. I had already accidentally grabbed his nipple earlier that
Oh,
weekend.
okay, sure.
So
You know.
I don't think I needed to get any closer to that man. I think he needed a break.
Can I just ask how
Accidentally.
that accidentally happened?
You don't cut this. This is too good.
The photo ops that you can do at those conventions, if the actors are game, you can do all kinds of weird, goofy stuff. And I'd seen a lot of people do like dips, and I had cool cowboy boots on and like a Western skirt. And I was like, hey,
Yes.
can we do a dip? And he goes, sure. But I like learned in Taekwondo where you keep your arms tight to your chest when you lean over to kick. And so my head was trying to do that. And then he was like trying to figure out my hands. And I just reached and like
You
grabbed him
good.
right on the nipple. And he grabbed my hand and moved it and started giggling. He's like, I see what you were doing. And I was just
I
like,
think you're good. I think you're good. He acknowledged it. I think you're good.
he knew,
I think
yeah,
you're good.
he knew
I
it
think
was
you're
an
good.
accident.
Nope. I think he acknowledged it. I think you guys are good. You guys are good.
I'm trying to freaking interview him for Texas Monthly. I got commissioned to do an interview with him because he's a Texan, and
Great.
his PR person won't respond to me.
Well, I wish you the
Uh,
best. Wish you the best.
Okay,
And I
let's.
don't think he's gonna remember you as Nipple Girl.
I,
I think
what
you're
if I
good.
what if I wear a name tag?
Don't push
do
it,
it.
sister.
Do it. Make a
Don't
shirt. Put
push
it.
it.
Put it on the
I will.
Geekscape Dashery website as a nipple grabber, and I'm sure it'll sell like
Yeah.
hotcakes.
I
Yeah.
will say I did get my nipple bit by a woman I was taking a photo with at Comic-Con once.
That's crazy.
And
I remember you telling this.
that was too much. That was like, okay, we're all having fun here, but
Hard pass.
Yeah,
no, we're
no,
not
thank
doing
you.
this.
Boundaries
So
are our friends, y'all.
yeah.
Even and especially at conventions.
Yes, especially at conventions.
Especially, yeah, for sure.
Well, I do want to ask, are there any final thought, like give me your thorns and roses from this year's Comic-Con.
Hmm.
What was your best and your worst? I
Oh,
can
that's a
start
good
if y'all want to
question.
think.
Go for it.
I think my best, I really enjoyed a panel I went to on kind of like indie authors, that included Chuck Tingle, who is like famous for his series of like Pounded in the Butt by like all these like really weird absurdist erotica.
That's
But he
cool.
also writes really great queer horror novels, and he's new and coming out. And like he was great, and he was the reason I went to the panel, but then everyone else on the panel was also great. And so I was like, oh, I'm so excited that I've discovered these new authors, that now I have a whole new like list of books I'm going to be reading. So I think that was definitely my best. And I think my worst, uh is just my flight home at 1 a.m. was a
Oh,
mistake. I think that's definitely wins.
yeah, I'm so sorry.
What
Yeah,
would you say,
that's
Katie?
I feel like okay, so it was all I don't want to say worse, but it was only because of certain experiences that I had, and I know this is going to be different when we talk about it with the guys that also went. But Her Universe is usually an incredible show. It always is. It's a fashion show with geek couture, so people are making these incredible stuff. It was all Wicked themed this year. It was super incredible. I went just to film it and was not treated very well as a camera operator, and it was a little bit disconcerting. And I think the organization of that, just getting into it, was rough, to be honest, and not my favorite. And it's also it's hard to say, but that was a really incredible show. I will say that if you haven't been to Comic Con and you do get the chance, the Her Universe stuff is actually really beautiful to look at. The costumes are incredible, insane. Some of them are interactive. There was a chandelier that dropped on one woman's dress that was really cool. We got to interview some of the really amazing people from last year that won, both the audience participation or the audience vote favorite, and also just the actual event. So it's a runway that they have all of these couture artists, and people have come like multiple times and competed many times. And then the prize is that you get to work with a huge company like they did this year. They did a Star Wars collaboration with the winners from last year. With Hot Topic. And so a lot of the designs and things like that are from the Her Universe show or inspired by some of the work that they've done. Um, it was kind of like a both. It was a similar like Roseanne Thorne in its own way, because it's always such a fun show. They put a lot of production quality into it, and I'm very excited to talk about it with everybody with our recap show. But yeah, I wasn't very pleased in being shooed along and kind of cordoned off, and then told that I wasn't allowed to have any of the swag, and yeah, it was a little gross, and I still haven't told our contact about it because it was just such a different experience for myself than it was for Marie, Joshua, and Joe, because they got the actual like fun getting to sit and watch the show while I had to work. But apart from that, I'd say the highlight of my Comic Con was actually getting to see everybody that I haven't seen in years or haven't seen without this screen in front of my face, but also meeting Matthew Kelly's
Yeah,
girlfriend, Barb Klein.
meeting Barb.
Oh, such a delight. Like
Barb's awesome.
she's one of those people that she doesn't come on the network that much, at all, and rightfully so. She's kind of a little bit shyer, but she's such a beautiful person and she's so fun. And it was great to get to meet her. And it's so cool to see Matt Kelly so happy.
I'm just glad she's not AI, like until you see her in person. Until I met her in person, I was like, and she's like, "Oh, you're a hugger." I was like, "I had just had to know.
Checking for an off
I
switch. Okay.
had
Yep.
to know."
Yep.
But wait, I remember back when Matt we were putting together that video for him for his birthday,
Mm.
and I called his brother Brian, and we just talked about Barb. We're like, "Hey man, is this Barb thing? Like, this is serious. Like, how serious is this Barb thing? It's amazing." So Barb was awesome. It was great, great, great having her at the booth and having her hanging out. My positives is like having a comic there and sharing it with people who I'm obsessed with, like Brian K. Vaughan and Mark Silvestri, and comic professionals who are legitimately interested and cool and happy to see me making stuff, and that felt like part of a community. And then having Ophelia enjoy the con was amazing. The negative is that Heidi was completely just like she got pack muled the whole convention because it's hard to have a kid at Comic Con. It's hard to be at Comic Con physically as an adult, and then for Heidi to like be there supporting a kid is just that was crazy, and don't know how it's replicable for next year. Um, definitely gonna have to do it different because it was exhausting for her. But Ophelia loved it. She loved it, loved it, loved it. The negative I would say is the costs. This is just getting so expensive. The booth has gone up a couple $100 since we started this, which is fine. But from the hotels to the food to this and that, it's an expensive weekend. So, man, that it's the Super Bowl of my year. It's the Super Bowl of Geekscape's year, and it costs like the damn Super Bowl of the year. It's the negative is always the cost because
Yeah.
we still do it. So there's tons of positives. That cost, though, it's real. It's an expensive week for us.
Thanks for listening, and I hope you enjoyed this bonus conversation with some of my fellow Geekscapists. I'll link their shows in the podcast description in case you'd like to hear more from them. And, as you can tell, I'm starting to do my research for the upcoming season on conventions. This is where I'd love to hear from you. What conversations or topics would you like me to explore within the realm of fandom conventions? Are you more interested in fan-run events? Or larger multi-fandom professional conventions like San Diego Comic-Con? Would it be helpful to hear from con veterans about how they organize their weekends? And what about topic-specific conversations? I'm already planning to cover Supernatural, Star Trek, and Anime Expo, but are there other conventions you'd want to hear about? Maybe for TCG competitions or LARPing events? Send me your ideas. Drop me a DM or shoot me an email at sadie.witkowski@gmail.com of any and all ideas you have. After all, fan conventions exist for the fans. Now for the show's credits. Editorial support was provided by Dr. Anna Funk. Music was composed and performed by Chris Scott. Cover art was designed by Liz Hand. In Defense of Fandom is a part of the Geekscape podcast network. If you like the show, giving us a review on Apple Podcasts is a great way to help support this work and help even more listeners discover us.
You're listening to the Geekscape Network.